Welcome to Mosquito and Cooling Systems System Installation and Testing Procedures video. First, let's cover the types of systems. The Platinum system contains an AC thermally protected motor. The motor specs are 1/3 horsepower, operating at 60 to 50 Hz at 110 or 120 or 200 to 240 volt single phase. It contains a brass Fluidotech pump. An LED control panel houses out a watertight Pelican enclosure, a digital timer, spray according to volume or time, US or metric circuits, 12 or 24-hour clock, leak detection, Wi-Fi capable, fluid level display, programmable remote control fob, 100 micron suction strainer filter, a 6-foot grounded power cord, a 1/4 inch push to connect output, a 110 volt 12 amp grounded outlet is required, a 24 inch diameter and 38 inch height barrel, a nickel plated manifold, battery backup, fuse protected circuitry, a 3-way electronic solenoid, a waterproof cover, and a 1-year warranty. The Gull system contains an AC thermally protected motor. Motor specs are 1/3 horsepower, 60 to 50 Hz, 110 or 120 to 200 240 volt single phase motor, a brass Fluidotech pump, digital timer, battery backup, low level sensor, a molded 55-gallon drum, a lockable lid, advanced and updated circuitry, user-friendly operation, a control panel housed inside a water-resistant Pelican box, a 100 micron suction strainer filter, 6-foot grounded power cord, a 1/4 inch push to connect output, a 110 volt 12 amp grounded outlet is required, a 24 inch diameter and 38 inch height barrel, a nickel plated manifold, adjustable needle valve, 110 volt or 220 volt operation, a remote control fob, and a waterproof cover. And now let's cover the system components. The components include a pump, manifold assembly, weatherproof housing, pump motor, reservoir access, remote control, and control panel timer. Other components include risers, nozzles, and fittings. Those components are nylon tubing, risers and nozzles, tubing cutters and release tool, and a waterproof cover. Typical nozzle locations include patios, aerial coverage, fence rails, ground cover, deck railings, and trees. And now let's cover the system design with Thomas Best, CEO of Mosquito and Cooling Systems.
Hi, it's Thomas with Mosquito and Cooling Systems. I wanted to talk a little bit today about how to design a mosquito control system. When ordering one of our kits, we've got several different kits to choose from. We try to make it real easy, so we've got a 30, a 40, and a 50 nozzle kit. Most times those kits will have everything that you need to install your system. Step one, though, is to always come up with the design. So the design part is going to tell you what parts and pieces additional that you may need, and it's also going to help you decide which kit is going to be right for your particular installation. So it's very simple. You don't have to get too complicated with these designs. I'm just going to use this whiteboard here and kind of draw a typical yard and then kind of explain it. So just to simplify everything, we're going to have the house. Typically we're going to have a wood privacy fence creating our boundary. And you may have a patio coming off. So step one would be to determine where you want to put your system at. You're going to need about a 2x2 area to place the tank. The tank will stand about 36 inches tall. And you're also going to need a power outlet to power the system. Most of the time people will put them next to their pool or their air conditioning equipment on the side of your house. We don't want it sitting right on your patio. So I would say let's put it over here by your AC equipment. That's step one. Find where you want to put your tank. Step two is to create an exterior perimeter. So we space these nozzles about 10 foot apart. A lot of houses will have a fence of some sort going around the backyard. And so just take a basic measurement. Let's say this area right here is going to be 60 foot. Let's say this back area across the back fence here is going to be another 60 foot. And then we'll say the same on this side as well. And then the second area to measure is going to be across the back. That's kind of a small patio. I think I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. So we're going to have approximately 30 feet right here, 10, 20, and 10. Now we space these nozzles about 10 foot apart, so it's real easy to do the math on this to figure out how many nozzles you need. If we've got a 60-foot fence line, that means we're going to have 6 nozzles. Now I usually just will kind of go ahead and draw where we're going to put them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Across the back we had another 60 foot. And then a 60 foot over here as well. Across the back of the house we had 30 feet, 10, 20, and another 10. So based on this design right here, this is going to tell you a lot. If we've got 60, 60, and 60, that's 6 times 3, which is 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. We're looking at about 25 nozzles. So step 1 is to kind of create a loop. So what I would do on a system like this, I would go ahead and come off the system itself, bury some tubing to where you want to start, and then start running your tubing. Connect it right there. We're going to go ahead and create this exterior perimeter, which is going to be really important to getting good results with your system. What we want to do is to kind of create an exterior perimeter, have nozzles around your patio area, and then we've got a bug-free zone, so to speak, throughout the middle right here. So I'm looking at about 25 nozzles. And one thing that's nice with these systems, I like to go ahead and try to loop the nozzles. So when I say loop the nozzles, that's to create a connected series of nozzles that's all tied back together and then back to the tank. So I'd probably come off this tank and then put a T-fitting and then go this direction to start our exterior perimeter, and then I'd also bring a line up right here. Sometimes it's nice to do aerial coverage above a patio area. That way you can get some coverage for flies, for wasps, and other insects that may be drawn to this area due to your presence or due to the light coming from the inside of the house at night. So what I would typically do is we'll run tubing and we'll go up behind a downspout. Most houses will have guttering of some sort, so that's a typical place to where you could go up. And then we'll go ahead and start running these nozzles for aerial coverage. And then say we have another downspout right here, drop back down, and then go ahead and continue either with risers along the eave of the house, or if you don't have a way to do that, you could also use some of our little copper risers to cover an area like this. So, and then from this point right here, I would drop back down, if you're up along the eave of the house, drop back down along the other downspout, bury a piece of tubing, and then connect it back to this fence. You may want a nozzle right there as well. And then what we're going to have is we're going to have a full loop. So everything on here is connected to each other. And the nice thing about having that loop is you can imagine if you have a long snaking run of nozzles and it's not all connected, it's going to take a while for that very last nozzle to start spraying versus having everything connected. The fluid is going to come out off of the tank, it's going to hit a T-fitting and then go 2 directions. It's going to start filling from 2 different directions and build pressure very quickly and start spraying almost instantly. Now, this is a good example right here of where you could order one of our 30 nozzle kits and you'd have everything that you need. Probably the most popular kit we have is a 40 nozzle kit. So that will cover majority of the properties that you're going to be installing at. Some of these, another example of this, you may have a swimming pool. So let's talk about that. Maybe there's a swimming pool right here off the back of the house with some landscaping going across the back of the pool, which is a pretty typical example. If I had a property like this, what I would do is I would probably install another T right here on the fence. I would bury a line, and then to target this landscaped area, I would use some of our copper risers. So it's 1/4-inch copper pipe. The pipes are actually about 15 inches tall. They have a T-fitting at the bottom, and then they have a nozzle on the top. You can order those either straight nozzles if they're going to go in the middle of a flower bed, or you can order those copper risers with a 45-degree fitting. And that way you could use those up against the base of the pool. And so I would go ahead and add a few of these copper risers here, and I would also go ahead and continue burying the line, just line only, just put a shovel in the ground, do about a 3-inch trench, you don't have to go very deep, and then connect it back to the other side of the fence with another T-fitting. So I've got a T-fitting here, and I've got a T-fitting here, I've got buried line leading us to this landscaped area. And so what this is going to create, we've already got our exterior perimeter, everything's already looped. This creates a second loop in the system. So it's really nice, especially on properties once you start getting up to 40 to 50 nozzles, to go ahead and try to create as many loops and minimize the number of just single branches you had. So it would have been real easy just to come here and have a little branch, which isn't the end of the world. You could do that, but just to make the system work a little bit better, it's nice to go ahead and create another perimeter. So by the time we add these, say you wanted to add a few more nozzles down here, say we had another landscaped area across the back of the house. You know, this is your patio area. This is where you're going to be spending the most amount of time. So we definitely want to load up and make sure we got plenty of coverage. So we could have some aerial nozzles going along the eave of the house. You have your roof coming down, you have your fascia, and then you'll have your soffit. There's usually a gap right on the back side of that soffit to where you can run your tubing and have it very discreetly installed. If you do have a bunch of plants, say around your patio area, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and have your aerial coverage, you know, up along the eaves of the house, and then you can also put you another T right here, bury a line, and install a few more copper risers. You know, let's face it, these are the areas that you're going to be spending the most amount of your time in, so it's good to go ahead and double up and make sure you got plenty of coverage around these deck or patio areas, especially areas that have any type of plant material. You know, we really don't worry so much about the grassy areas, but any areas that have landscaping with plants, landscaping with mulch, that's always an area where mosquitoes are going to be living and breeding, so it's important that we get good coverage there. Another way you can kind of fill in some of the gaps on some of these larger properties is by installation of tree-mounted nozzles. So, same thing, if you have a tree, what we'll typically do is branch off of our fence line with the T-fitting, bury the tubing, come up the back side of the tree, I would say go up about 4 or 5 foot, and you can put a 90-degree nozzle. So that 90-degree nozzle could be mounted on the back side of this tree. And that way you get some coverage to kind of fill in these gaps, which will help. So, you know, if you don't have a fence surrounding the entire property, don't feel like you have to. You don't have to use a fence. A lot of times we'll have trees. So some houses will back up to a green belt. Again, we like to space those nozzles about 10 foot apart so we get good coverage. I think it's very important to try to establish a perimeter somewhere on the property. And we can do that if we don't have the fence. We can also just come off of the system itself, bury the tubing, run to where we have our first tree, bury, come up the back side of these trees, put a nozzle about 4 foot high, and then interconnect these trees, and then bring this buried line back down to your tank. So that's another way you can install some nozzles on trees to kind of create that exterior perimeter. So I hope that gives some good advice on how to install or how to get your design going so you know which kit is going to be best for you to order. And then you can also add on to these kits. Say you need some copper risers. We've got those listed under our nozzles page, so take a look at those and you can always add on. If you start with the basic kit, it's real easy to come back and add some of these copper risers or add a few extra T's that you may need to complete the kit. And that way you get everything that you need to make it easy to install the system. Okay, thank you for watching the video.
And now let's talk about system installation. First, determine the tank location. The system needs a grounded outlet at 15 amps and a level surface. A 24-inch by 24-inch stepping stone is recommended. And now here's Enrique Amaro, Operations Manager and Vice President.
Alright, we're going to show you how to place the mosquito system unit. First of all, you got to level the ground and use 24 by 24 stepping stone. On top of the stepping stone, we're going to place the barrel, which is a 55-gallon drum. Attached to the lid, we have a control box with a digital timer. It comes with a remote control also. Then you have a 1/3 horsepower motor, 250 psi pump. This is a flow control to adjust the pressure to the nozzles. And this is the output, which is where we're going to attach the feed line to the nozzles. This is a 1/4-inch tubing, nylon, and it's just a push to connect feeding. You push in there, and it has 2 clicks all the way in, and you got a good connection.
Next, look at your design to determine the proper nozzle placement. Typical locations include fence lines, eaves for aerial coverage, tree-mounted nozzles, flower beds, planted areas, and ground and user decks. Here are some tips. Begin installing the nozzles. Choose the proper colored tubing to match what you are attaching to. Space the nozzles 8 to 10 feet apart to create an external perimeter. All fittings are pushed to connect. Use the supplied tubing cutter to create straight cuts and press firmly into fittings to make a proper connection, ensuring the tubing is fully inserted. If necessary, use the release tool to disconnect, then make a new cut and reinsert. Add nozzles as needed to cover all areas where mosquitoes could be hiding, including all landscaped areas, under and around decks and patios, along fence lines, and at aerial coverage if desired. Secure the tubing and fittings with the clamps and screws provided with the system. Here are some examples. Do not bury any connections or fittings. Use zip ties on wrought iron fences. Use rebar to reinforce standing risers. Go up behind downspouts to hide tubing for aerial coverage. Keep tree nozzles no higher than 6 feet above ground level. And now let's talk about system testing. For platinum system testing, always unplug the system first when filling with water to prevent risk of electric shock. After you have completed your tubing, riser, and nozzle installation, fill the reservoir about halfway with water. Make sure to use clean water and a filter if necessary for hard or well water. Clean water is very important to ensure proper nozzle function. Plug the power cord into a properly grounded 110-volt outlet. It is now time to flush and test your system. Remove 4 to 5 nozzles and run the system with water to flush and remove any debris from the lines that may have entered during the installation. Your system should come with the time and date preset. Go to the home screen and press Selector and select Manual Run. This will turn the system on for about 300 seconds, which should be sufficient time to check all connections and make sure the system is operating properly. Once satisfied the system is operating properly, enter the technician mode and go to Set App Volume to enter your system's normal output volume. For gold system testing, always unplug the system when filling with water to prevent risk of electric shock. After you have completed your tubing, riser, and nozzle installation, fill the reservoir about halfway with water. Make sure to use clean water and a filter if necessary for hard or well water. Clean water is very important to ensure proper nozzle function. Plug the power cord into a properly grounded 110-volt outlet. It is now time to flush and test your system. Remove 4 to 5 nozzles and run the system with water to flush and remove any debris from the lines that may have entered during installation. Slide the button cover down on the remote control to reveal the button. Press the button until you see your system running. The system will run for approximately 1 minute. Continue to run until satisfied the system is operating properly. Once you have tested the system according to the appropriate model, fill in all trenches and ditchwork. After flushing the lines, reconnect the removed nozzles and turn the system on. Check all the connections and nozzles for leaks and repeat as needed. Once satisfied everything is working correctly, bury all exposed tubing and connectors. Consult the owner's manual for detailed instructions. Your system is now ready for you to add the product of your choice. Follow all label instructions. Top the reservoir tank off with water. Set the desired auto spray times. Cover the system with a waterproof cover and enjoy your new system. Please follow these safety procedures when using your system. 1. Check the system on a regular basis to ensure proper working condition. 2. Do not expose to rain. 3. Always unplug the unit from the wall outlet before removing the lid. 4. Keep children and pets away from the system. 5. Do not use with a damaged cord. Contact Mosquito and Cooling Systems for replacement. 6. Do not unplug the cord by pulling on the cord. To unplug, grasp the plug, not the cord. 7. Do not operate when people, food, and pets are present. 8. Do not use the remote in windy conditions. 9. The system should be installed so the spray does not drift off the property on which it is installed. Do not install nozzles where spray can drift onto neighboring properties. 10. Direct nozzles to spray toward the target area and away from swimming pools, bodies of water, and eating or cooking areas. 11. Do not use these systems as a cooling system. 12. Keep the reservoir locked. 13. Keep the system contents labeled inside the plastic waterproof envelope attached to the reservoir. 14. Use only approved insecticides in accordance with labeled instructions. 15. Do not use unapproved product in the system. This will void the warranty and clog the nozzles. 16. The timer should be set to operate only at times when people and pets are not likely to be in the area. 17. Inspect all nozzles, tubing, and connections and fittings on a regular basis, and replace any leaky or worn parts before the next use. 18. Visually inspect all areas that are serviced by the system, and pay attention to the condition of foliage and surfaces or any structure or any other item within or near the area serviced by the system. If signs of plant burn or staining exist, adjust or relocate the nozzle. 19. For emergency shutoff, move the on-off auto indicator to the off position. 20. This system must be grounded. This will reduce the risk of electric shock. The plug must be inserted into an outlet that is properly grounded and in accordance with all local codes and ordinances. 21. If you are in doubt as to whether the outlet is in proper condition, have the outlet inspected by a licensed electrician. All mosquito systems are manufactured and tested at our Austin, Texas manufacturing facility and are covered by a 1-year conditional warranty from the date of purchase. Mosquito and Cooling Systems also offers free technical support and design assistance at www.mosquitoandcoolingsystems.com or toll free at 844-344-2069. Thanks for watching. For more information, contact us at Mosquito and Cooling Systems, www.mosquitoandcoolingsystems.com or toll free at 844-344-2069.